Hey, Manana No Mas listeners, thank you and welcome back to the Manana No Mas podcast. With me, I've got a great guy that I spent some time with last week at the Jake Ballantyne Speaker Summit. I don't want to go into a super long introduction because I know that this gentleman can take up the space himself. This is Greg Kettner. And Greg Kettner, welcome to the Manana No Mas podcast and to all of our viewers and listeners.
Great, Kurt. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. I tell you, we spent some time together last week at the Speaker Summit,
Yep.
and I really enjoyed our time together. I felt that a lot of your input during that time was brilliant. And for the listeners that are listening, you don't want to go anywhere yet. We got to see Greg do a little bit of a comedy performance at the event. And I'm not promising you comedy on this podcast, but I am promising you a funny person. So let's hear what Greg's got to say and give him a piece of your mind. Greg,
great, sounds good.
What can people expect as far as your message? Like, what if you had to pick a core message that you want to share with other people? What is that?
How to have a better and happier life, more time with your family, less stress, and more productivity, income by using humor, enjoying life, and laughing every day.
Yeah, that's key. Now, people that know me from the corporate world know that I'm kind of the class clown, right? I used to walk around and sing and dance and pass out. When I worked at Ducati, I used to pass out espressos to people. And one friend, John was an amazing person. He did government reporting. You couldn't pick a more dry, horrible job in my mind to do. Like the guy literally had to just read over policy and procedure and report to the government. And I found out that he liked espresso with hot chocolate in it. And I started making him espresso mochas and dropping those off in the afternoon. And man, you want to talk about making somebody happy.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's the little things like that, right? That can make a huge difference.
Yeah. So when I met you and you talked about humor in the workplace, I thought, man, this guy's my brother from another mother. I got to find out more about him. So how did this start for you? How did this become a passion?
I guess I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy. When we were kids, we wore out a Bill Cosby Fat Albert record. If you're under 25, a record was a plastic disc about this big. But yeah, so we grew up listening to Bill Cosby, and then from there I got into Brian Regan and Robin Williams and Norm Macdonald and all those guys. So it's always kind of been a part of me, and I've always used it. I've done sales for the past 25 years, and I continue to do that during my day job. But humor, it's memorable. People remember it. People have a good laugh, and it can break up, a monotonous, boring day, especially if you're doing government reporting, like John.
Yeah. When you say that you grew up with comedy, was it something like, you had to fight with your parents to stay up to watch Saturday Night Live and stuff like that? Or was it kind of a different environment for you to get your fill, to get to study the craft?
Yeah, no, we grew up in Canada, so we didn't have TV back in the day. Our family didn't. So it was mostly records, stuff that we'd sneak over to a friend's house and watch Saturday Night Live. But since then, it's just been getting on YouTube, studying the craft, and I stumbled into stand-up about 10 years ago when I was out with some buddies. We went into a pub in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they had an open mic night. And guys were getting up and playing guitars. Some guys would get up and tell a joke. And my buddies were saying, well, you got to get up there, because I've always been able to make people laugh one-on-one, right? Like we did at the summit. And so I was like, there's no way. I'm fearful of public speaking. And the worst thing I could think of is trying to tell a joke in front of 15 people and have nobody laugh at me or boo me. So I negotiated, because I'm in sales. So I said, you know what, if you pay for my tab at the end of the night, I'll go up.
There you go.
That was 10 years ago in October.
Wow. Yeah. Now, what do you remember about that first experience? was it something that you did and regretted and then had to fight through, or was it something you did and went, I can't believe I waited this long?
I can't believe I waited this long. And
Yeah.
I trust me, I don't remember the whole 5 minutes. It had been several rounds. But the first thing I remembered was I got the first line out of the way. I was just being myself. And that's what it takes a lot of the time. People want to think, oh, we got to get up there and be perfect. We have to do this. We have to be like that. But if you're just yourself, I got up there, I told a street joke, and the laughter I got back, I was like, that is the drug I've been looking for.
That's
And
the drug.
I just went back every Wednesday night. I did my 5 minutes, and then I had 10 and 15. And once you get to 20, they pay you. I went out and
Nice.
did a gig with a buddy. He asked me to do 15. He was going to pay me $100. And so I lied and said I had 15. I just repeated the same 5 minutes 3 times. But that was my first paid gig. That was about 4 weeks after my first time on stage.
Oh,
And
wow.
just kind of, never looked back.
Yeah. So this wasn't like a 5-year slow crawl. This was like, you
No.
did it, and a month later you were like, how do I get paid for this?
Yeah, no, it escalated, if you can escalate comedy. But it did. And then that was about 6 months after that someone had seen me in Vancouver. I was working for SAP at the time, and they'd seen me, just do 5 minutes at a club. And they came up and asked me if I would do some stand up for the Christmas party in front of 600 people. And I said, yeah, that would be fun, because I'd only been playing in front of 15, 20 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Big crowd.
so, yeah, absolutely. Right. And, I'd be the star of the Christmas party in front of 600 people. And nobody knew that what I was going to do, or that I was even going to get up and perform, because they wanted me to go up and roast the VPs.
Ooh,
And I
okay.
thought, well, I want to keep my job, so I better do this properly. So I wrote, there were 6 of them, and I wrote 10 questions, emailed them to all 6 of the VPs. And then once I had their answers, I wrote a minute or 2 bit on each one of these guys, sent it back to them and said, hey, can I say this? Is there anything you want to add? And most of them were like, oh, you got to say this or say that, or this would be funny or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it was Christmas, the party, and after Christmas dinner, they said, no, we have some special entertainment. And I went up and did this, and it floored everybody, including myself, because nobody in the audience knew what was going to come. The only people that knew was me, the HR gal, and the VPs. And
Nice.
so that was 6 months in, and then 3 months later, I think I told you the story, but we were down in Las Vegas for our annual sales kickoff. So we had 3,500 salespeople from around North America. And every year they would have an awards banquet, and the number one salesperson every year, their prize was picking out a brand new Porsche. So you could walk into any Porsche in North America, that was their car. And that was just a bonus for doing the job. So
It's
on
not a
that
bad
night,
bonus.
they would, I would take that. Here's a $150,000 bonus. Thanks for playing along. So, but every year they would hire an entertainer. One year was Sugar Ray Leonard, another year was Sinbad to MC the show. And that year it was Greg Proops, really funny guy, club comedian from San Francisco. But it was a weird choice for a corporate event. Because at a corporate event, you have to be very, very vanilla, right? You can't make fun of race or sex or money.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a bit of a weird choice, but I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. And I'd done a couple of shows with Greg. He'd come through Vancouver, and I was an opener. So I'd worked with him a couple of times. Nice guy. So we're in there we're in the grand ballroom of the Bellagio, 3,500 salespeople. I'm at a table with 10 of the people. I have no idea who they are, because I was late drinking probably. But so we got in there, and Greg got up there and started the show. And I don't know what happened, if it wasn't his night or but it went horribly wrong 7 minutes into this 3-hour program.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm at the back, I'm having dinner. Luckily I only had a couple glasses of wine, and he started just not doing well at all. And he's like, well, this sucks. I should have been more prepared. And And he's like, let's just start the show. So he brings out the first presenter, and the guy comes out and awards the show, or the prize. And as he's walking off, Greg looks at me and goes, oh, looks like we have a flamer in the house.
Whoops.
Totally offsides, right? I mean, just the crowd went silent. Like you could hear a pin drop. The lights came back on. The band started playing. They cut the microphone, and
And that
I
was
looked
it.
at the stage, and here's Greg Proops throwing the microphone down and walked off. And I was like, wow, that sucks. I would not want to go up on that stage.
Yep.
So I went back to eating, and about 5 minutes later, a voice came over the PA system and said, hey, if anyone knows where Greg Kettner is, we need to talk to him immediately. My first thought was, who was I talking to last night and how much was I drinking?
Yeah.
Absolutely thought I was like in trouble. I had no idea, right? Why, like, it would just, it's mind numbing to even think that they would throw a kid up on the stage.
Yep.
So I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't want to get fired.
I just want
So
to eat my dinner.
yeah, exactly. I want to finish my steak and my wine, go home. So about 5 minutes after that, the voice came back on, said, seriously, if anyone knows where Greg's seated tonight, has his cell phone number, his room number. And then that's when my former friend Trevor came running from 3 tables over and totally outed me. He's like, dude, they want you to do stand-up comedy. So now here I am in front of a table, and they're like,
Yep.
you got to go, man.
You got to
And
do it.
so I went up. Yeah, so I went up, and I went back to the stage. I remember it was like yesterday. They're wiring a microphone on me. I can't remember any joke. I was having a hard time remembering my name. And they introduced me. I walked up to standing ovation because, I mean, this whole thing had happened.
Yeah.
And then 15 minutes later, there's a sales guy who sells software getting up to do stand-up. And so I did it. And at the end of the 15 minutes, which they'd asked, I'm still in sales, and I hadn't hit my number to hit President's Club, which was a cruise through Turkey, Italy, and Greece. And you could take, your partner, which, a $10,000 trip. So I asked, I said, you know what? I didn't hit my number. I'm really sorry, but I'm kind of helping out the company tonight. I wonder if I can get on the stage, or not on the stage, but on the boat.
Yeah.
And this gentleman from the front row stands up, comes and shakes my hand. He says, you're on the boat. I'm like, awesome. So I go back and I go, this guy says I'm on the boat. What's your name? He's like, so-and-so. He was the president of SAP. He was all the way from France.
Oh,
I had no
wow.
idea who this guy was. So, and there's no really point to that story, but that was a night because I got up on stage, and I did 15 minutes of stand-up comedy, and I got a $10,000 trip. And I was
Yeah.
like, I think I can make a living out of this.
Yeah.
And then,
Well,
and
40
then
grand
the
an hour
next
is
gig,
good.
yeah, the next gig was $200. So you start high, and then you got to work. But that night when I walked off stage, and I never had a feeling like that in my life. It was just, everybody was like, that was awesome, amazing. I want to hang out and be your friend. And then after about an hour, I got tired of it and went back to my hotel room by myself.
That's good
but
stuff.
then
So,
6 months after that, I quit my job and started doing stand-up full time.
wow.
Yeah.
So when you say that kind of is that's a big ask, right? So,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm going to do stand up full time. How much travel, like how much does that entail for you? Do you do corporate events, or do you like travel the country and do, bars and nightclubs?
Yeah. Everything back then. I mean, you're working all the comedy clubs, casinos, the bars, and they also had a corporate section as well too, but it's more corporate stand up. So it wasn't, comedy with a message, is what I do now in corporations. But it was more just like a holiday parties and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did that across Canada and through the Western United States for 6 years, and then finally fell in love and came back to my senses.
Came back to your senses. So I'm interested in this part. Like, you do the stand up and you get hooked on the audience and the laughs and the cheers and stuff like that. And now you're doing corporate talks with a message.
Yep.
What's kind of like, give me an idea of what that format looks like. If a corporation says, we want to bring in someone to help us with communication, morale, sales, productivity, and we think humor could be a key to that. They hire you, they bring you in. What's that format look like for them?
Absolutely. Well, there's two different things that I do. I'll come out and give a keynote speech, how to use humor, what is humor, what's appropriate humor, obviously, right? We're in 2020.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and the number one lesson is probably never joke with HR. That's the most beneficial for most people. So I can come out and do that, like, if there's a conference for, salespeople, association of salespeople, I do that as well. Or I can go in and do workshops where we sit down and take a half day and break it out. What is humor? How do we do it? How do you write a joke? How do you tell a joke? How do you use humor in a speech? If you're a CEO of a company, and a lot of people do not like getting up in front of people and talking. So I've
Yeah.
worked with people, coached them, how to present, how to slow down, how to have a conversation with somebody in an audience like you're having a conversation like we are face to face.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. So, I'm kind of setting you up with this question. You might not have an answer,
Yep.
but are there studies on like morale and humor and productivity? Is there
Oh,
any?
absolutely.
Yeah. What
Yeah. There,
how's that break down?
I mean, there's a lot. One of the interesting studies, because I found a comedy and Robin Williams, who I got to work with, they did, Harvard did a study on productivity. And so they had test groups. They had 20 people in each test group, and they started working on a puzzle. And both groups had the same puzzle to work on. And both groups were given 20 minutes to work on this puzzle. And then group A went and watched a documentary, and group B went and watched Robin Williams stand up live. So they watched the documentary and Robin Williams for 20 minutes. And when they came back and continued to work on the puzzle, the people who watched Robin Williams were 27% more productive and quicker.
Wow.
And that's just 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, there's lots, as far as mental health, laughter, when we laugh, it releases endorphins in our brain. And, it's a natural high. If you laugh I like to tell people, if you laugh for 15 minutes, you burn 30 calories. If you have sex for 30 minutes, it burns 40 calories. But if you do both together, it's minus 10 calories. You actually gain weight.
There you go.
So, but my point being is that, when you release those endorphins, I mean, you feel good. I've never seen anybody laugh and then, cry right after. It's a natural phenomenon, and it helps lower stress. It helps with productivity, creativity. And, a lot of these people are looking for ways to reduce turnover in their companies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, having a fun word, and it just doesn't have to be laughter. I mean, you can have fun. You can have a swear jar. Somebody swears, $5 goes into the jar, and at the end of the month, you have a party. There's just a ton of stuff that you can do to make work fun, where people are like, hey, you know what? I have a great job. I like my coworkers. And there's this one guy that tells me a joke every Monday, that kind of thing.
And it's so many people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like when I work corporately at Suzuki, for example, right? There's
Yep.
over 100 people there. And there was this sweet old dude. I mean, I love the guy. He was older than me, a lot bigger than
Yep.
me, super tall, super big. But he was really, really dry in the office. But then
Yep.
every day he would take the Far Side slip off of
Yep.
his calendar, and he would like just walk by and drop it on your cubicle, and you're like, it was almost funnier that it came from him than what was on the slip,
Yeah.
right? It's like, wow, this guy's trying his hardest to share something funny with me, but he doesn't even say, good afternoon when you walk by his desk.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was just,
Exactly.
but that was like his way of communicating or trying to add levity to the team, like just trying to communicate. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really, really interesting. And then there were, everybody had their own twist in the office, and so
Yeah.
when you're consulting with corporations about the use of humor and stuff like that, do you have to get into conversations about, the 4 different personality temperaments and what's best, what's not best, or any of that? Or is it more like Is it more like a procedural kind of talk?
No, we get into the 4 different types of actual humor. I mean, there's affiliative, right? Like you and I are talking to each other when we tell an inside joke about what happened at the summit, right? Only you and I would get it because we were there and we experienced it.
Yeah.
There's self-deprecating humor where you pick on yourself. Like it's my favorite type of humor, not my wife's. But I can get up in front of a corporation and say, you know what, I need to lose weight. I'm 48, and I've got to get in health. I used to weigh 8 pounds 6 ounces, and then people laugh. It's deprecating, but it's a funny twist, and typically people laugh more than you do. But you know,
Okay, you got me.
you can't win them all.
Can't win them all.
So we just kind of go through everything, and then it just opens up for questions. How do we do this? How do we have more fun in the workplace? How do we liven things up? And like the guy that you worked with dropping off the far side, it's there's a ton of stuff you can do every Friday. And if your listeners want, they can send me their email address. I do a Friday Funny where I have curated 52 weeks of either funny videos or cartoons or videos about myself, things that I find funny, memes, whatever. And every Friday morning at 10 o'clock, it's in their email box. So
nice.
that they can be the hero at their office, right? Oh, hey, I got this, this funny video you got to watch. And they don't have to watch it to make sure they can share it in the office. It's funny, it's clean, nobody gets hurt in the videos. So, but it just makes everybody around you laugh.
Now, if someone wanted to join that list, how would they get in touch with that?
You can just go to gregkettner.com.
gregkettner.com, and then and they can
my name's down in the corner there.
Yeah. Gotcha. And then all of the contact information for you we'll have in the description of the video on YouTube and on the Manana No Mas website and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
perfect.
gregkettner.com. They can look up how to reach you there. Do you have like a show schedule or something that goes into that, or are you currently doing shows or?
No, well, I do have shows that are kind of more locally around here in Walla Walla, but I do list my corporate events. That will be on my website, as we learned from Jake. If you need to be more updating daily instead of quarterly, but or people can go to my Facebook page, which is Greg Kettner Speaks on Facebook, and that'll list all the events.
Greg Kettner Speaks. Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, if you wanted to inspire any of our listeners, now on Manana No Mas, we've got, a wide spectrum of training courses available. We've got like key performance indicators, how to set a goal and achieve a goal, things like that. So we have people that are into like a business side of personal development or even from a fitness side. In what way do you think we could serve them best, having them get in touch with you?
I think if anybody, has a question, or if anybody's interested in doing stand-up at some point, or, making their talk funnier, or any of that, I'd be more than willing to help out. We could do a Zoom call or email or whatnot.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
My motto is, I love getting out of bed to make people happy, and I want to change, my world, my circle of influence, one laugh at a time. And I think if all of us had a good laugh once a day, we'd have a lot less problems, whether it's at work or with your boss, coworkers. It's hard to be mad at somebody when you're laughing with them.
Yeah. No, that's true. One more thought, and I'm sure you get asked this all the time. So, we're talking about humor, use of humor, things like that. And then you just said, if you want to like improve or try stand up, what is it that takes somebody from like being funny at a party or being funny with their handful of friends to being funny on demand with a microphone in front of their face? Like, there's got to be a difference. There's got to be a leap for that. And I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
It takes a lot of courage to get up there. Like I said, the first time I went up, I had a couple of whiskeys, which always helped. But when people ask me, the thing that I've learned over 10 years of doing stand-up is to have a conversation one-on-one when I'm telling a joke to you at a bar, to have that same kind of feel from the stage. It's similar to how we speak as well too, right? If you can connect and have empathy, But I tell people, if you want to do it, absolutely. But then people are like, well, can you help me write? But if I help you write something in your motorcycle world, I don't know your world. I'm not you. I'm not Kurt. I'm Greg. Right?
Yeah.
I talk about hockey. You talk about motorcycles. So there's stuff that you can compare, right? And if we sat down and compared fixing a motorcycle engine to fixing a power plant in hockey, there's going to be similarities that are going to be funny. But
Yeah.
I tell people, you need to prepare 5 minutes, and you can practice in front of your mirror, practice with a buddy on Zoom, but just get up there. It's a trial and error. There's no amount of homework or fill in the blanks or multiple choice. It's
Yeah.
what story do you have to tell, and how are you going to be funny, and you just learn the trade, I guess.
And then flipping the question around,
Yep.
how do you overcome or how do you improve your reaction to maybe a session that you bomb? I mean, and I'm making an assumption that you have bombed. Have you ever bombed?
I've bombed jokes. I have not bombed complete sets. I had a quick story. About 3 months ago, there was an open mic here in Walla Walla at a winery, and the whole thing wasn't set up. It was their first time doing it. The microphone really wasn't working. And then this girl got up and started talking. All of a sudden, she said some name that I didn't hear, and she's like, "Please welcome." So people are clapping. I'm clapping too, right? I'm like, "Oh, who's it going to be?" And she's like, "Greg, get up here." I was like, "Oh, my bad. Sorry." So I walked up there, and I was, it's open mic, so I wasn't trying my gold material. That always works. I was
Yeah.
working on some new stuff, and so I tried. The first 2 bits were brand new, didn't work. So I went to a joke that I know always gets a laugh, didn't work. And then after the 4th joke, I said, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to go home, retire. This probably isn't my cup of tea. Right? Being self-deprecating, trying to get a laugh.
Yeah.
So I got one golf clap as I walked off. And as I'm walking back to my chair, this guy reaches out and taps me. And I thought maybe it was a buddy or something. I go, "Hey, what?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're right. You're not funny. I wouldn't do it ever again." I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, okay. I said, "Well," I said, "if I were you, I would go home now because I'm the funniest guy. I'm the best guy that's going to go up tonight."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, you're not funny." I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, yeah, no, I go home. I'm the best guy." He goes, No, I'm going up next."
Really?
So I looked at him. I go, "Well, I hope you have a stroke." And I walked off. so here's this guy up there 5 minutes later playing his guitar. I was at the back of the room with a glass of wine just laughing at him the whole time. So it worked out. I bombed, but I got the last laugh. Kind of
Yeah.
mean, but I was just like, why do you have to tell me that I'm bad? I know I had a bad set.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's times like that. If you have a bad set or you bomb, well, try again or don't, I always try a joke 3 times. If it doesn't work the 3rd time, I scrap it.
Yeah. I was thinking about, I'm in a different world. I do a lot of content. I do a lot of Facebook lives, YouTube lives, lots of corporate stuff. And I've done a lot of presentations, like sales presentations or technical presentations on like how to fix an engine. And, absolutely. You've got good days and bad days. There's times where there's not a single time, in fact, that I've walked away from an event and thought I couldn't do better. Like each time I was like, I could have done that better. I could have paused more. I could have sped this up. I could have met the time better. I could have, in a technical arena, I could have said, oh, I could have handled this better. Right. Doing show and tell with parts or something. But I will have to say, from my perspective, you just turn the energy towards the next thing. It's like whatever the next thing is, it's like, well, could have been better. Okay, we got another shot coming up. And I've always got something next in the can that I have to concentrate on. Whether it's, I've done the sales training for Ducati in Spain and France and Italy and the technical training and all over the country in Canada. And you just get, I don't know, I think I just got, I'm not going to say immune to people's opinions, because then that makes me sound like Gary V, and I'm not Gary V. But their opinions still matter to me, and it still hurts. But I got another job to do. I've just got to get forward. So
and you probably had instances or similar. I've had them before. Was when you have given a presentation or you have given a talk or a training, you're like, oh man, I don't think I don't think that resonated with anybody. And
Yeah.
then you'll get all these likes and all these compliments, like, that's just what I need to hear. That was amazing. So it works the other way
Yeah.
as well too.
Well, to be honest with you, it happens more what you just described than
Yeah.
the other way. And I think that's because most people that do anything publicly are really critical of themselves,
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I've had a lot of feedback after an event like, oh, that was the best training we ever had. And I'm going, I don't know how they think that. That's just, that couldn't possibly be right.
It was your charm.
Yeah, but then it gives you the ability to jump into the next task with a little bit more confidence, and then
Absolutely.
a little more polish each time.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. How can people, we talked about the gregkettner.com, they can reach you there. You've got a Facebook page, Greg Kettner Speaks. Is there anything else you want to share with the groups as we bring this to a close?
I don't think so. I encourage everybody to laugh, get on YouTube. If you're having a crappy day, you can pull up Dry Bar Comedy. Some of the guys that I like and I follow are comedians Brian Regan, Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
Another guy in the speaking world is Andrew Tarvin. He's the world's only humor engineer. Really, really funny. A little bit more dry, and but very good.
Well, he's an engineer.
Yeah. But I just think that there's so much. We're on our phones. We have so much going. If we would just sit down and watch comedy and laugh for 20 minutes a day, I mean, my life's better of it. I now have a career doing what I love. I found my wife through stand-up comedy, and I get to meet people all over the country like you, Kurt, who are friends because we met at a conference. You don't know anybody, but you have a laugh, and here we are a week later.
Well, I got to say, out of all the conferences that I've been to, I think that was one of the most personable ones. For those that don't know, Jake Ballantyne, he has a speaker, author, and coach network that he does on Facebook. He had a get together in real time. People flew in from all over. I mean, a lady from Ireland was there.
Yeah.
Right.
And
then people from Australia. And, I drove 30 miles. So, people from everywhere went to this thing. And I've been to a lot of conferences, but this one seemed to get real personal real quick.
Yeah.
And man, I think we really met some cool key people there.
Yeah. And next year, Jake's, it's growing. He started a year ago with 0 people. Now there's almost 7,000 people.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anyone, if you reach out to Kurt or myself, it's Speakers, Authors, and Coaches group on Facebook. But the group, it's amazing because we can share. Like you said, we came together quickly and it was very personable. And now I've got, I probably had at least 20, 25 people reach out to me in the last 6 days.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but you're awesome. Funny.
Well,
everybody wants to hang around with a funny guy.
Funny looking.
Funny looking. All right. Well, Greg, I really appreciate your time. Time is valuable and you've given me plenty of it today. I really, really hope that this is an inspiration to the people that listen to Manana No Mas or participate in our training. I am 100% behind having a good time while you're on the job. And I know that's been key to a lot of the successes I've already experienced. So I appreciate the work you do. And we wish you the best, man. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thanks for having me. Keep up the great work you do as well, Kurt.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. We'll catch up at least by next year.